Hi, this is Matthew Bray with Success the Bray Way and the Indigo Flame program. So I just wanted to talk a little bit today about restoration. Today's video is about the theme of restoration, how it applies to your life, and most importantly, how to apply the parable of the dry bones from the Bible to your life and how that applies to the restoration of your life, if you believe it. So I guess it's about a shift in perspective, mainly is how that you can apply this parable to your life. So if we look at the actual parable, in Ezekiel chapter 37, Ezekiel is led into a valley of desolation, and the valley is full of dry bones. They've been there for who knows how long. They're dry, they're completely lifeless, they're broken apart. I mean, completely destroyed, desolate, no life there whatsoever, and no sign that life has been in these bones for some time. So that's the important key there, is the appearance of the bones. So if we just sit and imagine that for a second, imagine a valley full of these bones, and they're all broken into pieces, and they're not together. They're dry. There's no sign that any flesh or blood or muscle has been on them for some time. To most people, that's a pretty bleak observation. That's a pretty bleak image. As we look across a whole valley full of bones, the first word that would come to your mind would probably be death. Complete death, destruction, and desolation. There's the key. Some people would look at that image and see the death and destruction and desolation of the dry bones and see that there's no life whatsoever, just complete chaos and death. But Ezekiel is asked, can these bones ever live again? And Ezekiel is not sure how to answer that question. And he doesn't really answer it with complete faith. He basically says to God, only you know that. So I don't think Ezekiel was fully applying his faith there to the situation where he was seeing with his physical eyes what was before him. That's a big part of the belief and the faith of restoration, is seeing something as it is rather than seeing something as it could be. So it's not what it is, it's what it could become, the potential there. So Ezekiel says, well, I mean, God, only you know that if they can live again. I don't know. So he is commanded to speak to these bones and tell them to live again. So he does put his faith into action by actually speaking the words, and so that the bones could hear the words. It says there specifically that they can hear the words. So he speaks this word over the bones that are in the valley, and they immediately start to transform. They start to come together. It says bone upon bone, bone upon his bone. So the first thing that happened was that the bones came together with the bones that they actually belonged to. So they actually completed skeletons and came back to the individual people that they once were. So there was a coming together. Once the word of faith was spoken, the bones came together. So they came together and joined together, bone upon his bone. So the next thing that happened is it says that the bones developed sinews that covered them, which means tendons and muscle. So the next thing that happened was that the bones developed the tendons to hold them together. They came together, joined together to represent at least what they once were, but now they're getting the support that they need to be held together so that they won't break apart again. The next thing is that then they develop muscle over these bones and tendons. Now that's the strength. Strength is always represented by muscle. Muscle is strength. So then the bones got strength. They not only came together, they're going to stay together. Now they have strength. And then it says the last thing to come over the bones was the skin. So that represents the outward appearance. So now not only are these bones together, they're going to be held together, they have strength to hold together, but now they have a pleasing appearance of an actual human being, a pleasing appearance to someone who would look at them with their physical eyes. And then the last thing is that the breath came back into them and they did live again. So here's where the restoration comes into play and how you can apply it to your life. So you may be looking at your life right now and all you can see with your physical eyes is a huge valley full of death and destruction and just dry bones, no life whatsoever. And you may be asking yourself, can these bones ever live again? Or can my life ever be back together the way that it once was? You may be asking yourself that, and I've asked myself that a lot in the past. Can my life ever be the way that it was? Or even worse, I go to my five senses and I start saying disempowering things to myself like, why? Why can't my life be the way that it was? How am I ever going to change this situation? When are things going to turn around? When is that person going to come into my life? When are things going to turn around for me? When is my ship going to come in? How? How is it going to happen? How can this possibly happen? What did I do wrong? What have I done? What can I do to change this situation? So those are questions that disempower you and take you away from the place of faith, and they don't lead you to restoration. So notice that in this story, the questions were not spoken. How can they live again? When would it happen? What killed these people? Why are they here? Why did they die? How long have they been here? None of those questions were asked. The command of faith was given that the word should be spoken, prophesied over these bones, and they should live again. So faith was put into play by speaking the word over the bones. So speak that word over your situation today. Speak that word over your life today. And really believe and witness the restoration happening in your life. You know, witness your life coming back together bone upon bone. Because the interesting thing there is that you can look at those bones with your physical eyes and what everyone has told you to believe and how you've been indoctrinated to believe your entire life as the normal way to think, try to figure it out, or just try to be realistic, try to see things in a realistic sense or a realistic point of view. But that's not how you get things done. You have to have the imagination of faith and the faith of imagination. See things as though they ought to be. Can these bones live again? Can my life be restored to what it once was? Can my life be restored back to better than it has ever been? So the bones represent the structure. So once again, you could look at the bones with your physical eyes and just see death, desolation, and nothingness, no life whatsoever. But what we have to realize is that what are bones? Bones are the structure. Bones are the framework. Bones are the foundation. I mean, bones are the innermost foundation of your body. I mean, there would be no physical body here at all being held up without the actual bones. I'd just be a gooey puddle here in my chair. So the bones are the structure. And, you know, like when we talk about houses, when someone says that the house has good bones, it means that it has good wall studs, it has a good foundation, it has a good structure around it to build upon. So the bones are there. The bones are there to build upon. So as long as the foundation is there, we don't see death. We don't see the death and dry destruction there in the valley. We see the foundation that something can be rebuilt upon, that something can be restored back to. So we speak the word of faith over our situation and we believe it without a shadow of a doubt. We say the word. We say the word with our mouths. We say the word with our minds by thinking the correct thoughts. We say the words with our emotion. We stay up here with a high vibration. A very high vibration is what's going to get that restoration done, combined with the things that we speak, speaking the word and thinking the thoughts. So the bones came together once the word was spoken. So the foundation came together and it was ready to be built upon. So then once again, the tendons came upon it, and tendons are there to hold the bones together. So now they have a support system. They're being held together. Now they have muscle that covers them. Now they have strength. They're definitely going to stay together, but now they can actually do things. And then the final step in the outward appearance was to get the covering of skin so that everyone else around you and even yourself can look in that mirror and to your own physical eyes can see the final manifestation of your faith, the skin covering. You know, with our skin covering us, we're, you know, at least some of us, myself excluded, are halfway decent to look at. I wouldn't be too decent at all to look at it if I was just a bunch of bones and muscle and tendons right now. It would be pretty hideous. So that final step is the skin covering, is the outward appearance, the final outward manifestation of what we believed in for the restoration in our situation or in our lives. And then the breath came in and those people lived again. The breath, the spirit of faith comes in and it stays there. And that is how you apply the parable of the dry bones in the 37th book of Ezekiel to your life or to your situation. So once again, I'm Matthew Bray with Success the Bray Way. You can go to successthebrayway.com and with the Indigo Flame program. Thank you and have a blessed day.